The outcast in the desert was a place where only the strong survived. During the day, the sun burned hot, and at night, cold winds howled across the endless sand. Far away from any city or village, a small human outpost stood alone. Its metal walls almost lost among the dunes. One night, a strange sound broke the silence. Jack, the only human in the outpost, was writing in his logbook when he heard a cry, half pain, half fear. He froze, listening. Again, the sound came, carried by the wind. Jack grabbed his old flashlight and his blaster and stepped outside. The night was cold, the wind biting. Jack's boots sank in the sand as he walked towards the sound. He saw movement. Shadows stumbling in the darkness. As Jack got closer, the shape collapsed, falling to its knees. Cautiously, Jack aimed his light. The figure was not human. It was tall, thin, and wrapped in torn clothes that looked more like rags than anything else. Its skin glowed faintly blue under the moonlight. He realized it was a woman-on alien, shivering, eyes full of fear and tears. For a moment, neither spoke. The wind howled around them, making Jack's hair stand on end. He watched her carefully, blaster still ready. She did not move to attack. Instead, she looked up at him with desperate eyes. "Please," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Breed me or banish me. That is the law." Jack blinked in confusion. He did not understand her words. He knew some of the alien languages, but this one was mixed with pain and exhaustion. He stepped closer, lowering his weapon just a little. The woman tried to stand, but collapsed again. Jack saw she was bleeding from her feet. Her bare skin was cut and bruised from walking across the sharp desert rocks. She must have been running for a long time. Without another word, Jack reached out his hand. The alien woman looked at it, unsure. Finally, she took it. Her fingers were cold and thin, gripping his tightly as he pulled her to her feet. She swayed, almost falling again, but Jack caught her. He helped her back to the outpost, supporting her weight as they moved slowly. Across the sand, the wind pushed against them, stinging their faces with dust. Inside the outpost, Jack made the alien woman sit on a bench. She looked around with wide, frightened eyes. Jack could see how tired and hopeless she was. He got some water and offered it to her. She drank greedily, as if she had not tasted water in days. Jack then brought a blanket, wrapping it around her shoulders. The woman's whole body shook. She tried to speak again, her voice weak. "My tribe. They sent me away. I am not useful," she said quietly, her words broken, but clear enough. Jack listened. He did not know her story, but he could see her pain. He decided not to ask questions, not. Yet, instead, he made some hot food and gave her a small bowl. She ate slowly, savoring every bite. As she ate, Jack checked her wounds. He cleaned the cuts on her feet and wrapped them with bandages. The woman flinched, but did not cry out. She was used to pain. The outpost was quiet, only the wind making noise outside. Jack watched the alien woman, wondering why her own people would abandon her in such a cruel way. He wanted to ask about the words she had spoken outside, about breeding and banishment, but he saw how tired she was. He decided to let her rest. Soon, the woman's eyes closed. She leaned against the wall and fell asleep, still wrapped in the blanket. Jack sat nearby, blaster close, eyes always on the door. He could not relax. Something about the woman's arrival made him uneasy, as if more trouble was coming. In the darkness outside, strange shapes moved between the dunes. Jack did not see them, but he felt a chill run down his spine. Someone or something was out there. Watching, Jack looked at the sleeping woman and made a silent promise. As long as she was in his outpost, he would protect her. He did not know her story, but he knew what it meant to be alone in a dangerous world as the night grew colder and the desert wind cried like a living thing. Jack realized his life was about to change forever. The outcast in the desert had brought more than fear. She had brought a secret. And maybe a war, and far away in the darkness, the real danger was only just beginning. Night in the desert was never truly silent. The wind sang its lonely song. But on this night, another sound joined in the quiet steps of hunters. Unseen eyes watched Jack's outpost, their pupils glowing softly in the darkness. Inside, Jack sat awake. He could not sleep. The alien woman, still wrapped in her blanket, breathed quietly. Jack stared at her, thinking about her strange words. Breed me or banish me. What did it mean? Why would her tribe send her out here to die? He stood up, stretched, and checked his old scanner. The device made a soft, steady beep, showing nothing unusual outside. Still, Jack's instincts told him something was wrong. Suddenly, the outpost lights flickered. Jack's heart jumped. He hurried to the window, looking out into the black desert. Nothing, just darkness and swirling sand. But then, in the edge of his vision, he saw it. Two small lights like animal eyes. Low to the ground, Jack quietly moved back, locked the doors, and turned off the main light. He picked up his blaster, keeping it ready. He moved to the sleeping woman and shook her gently. She woke with a start, eyes wide, as if expecting a nightmare. Jack put his finger to his lips. Quiet, he whispered. Something's out there. The woman listened. For a moment, there was nothing, just the distant wind. But then, even she heard it. Soft footsteps circling the outpost. She whispered. They are here. Jack nodded. Your people. Hush. She looked at the floor, shame and fear in her eyes. Yes, they want to take me back. Or. She did not finish her sentence. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the night. Jack jumped, pointing his blaster at the door. Another bang, and then voices strange, rough, and angry. The alien woman trembled. From outside, a guttural voice shouted in a language Jack didn't fully understand. The woman translated quietly. They say, give her back. She is our shame. No one shelters the banished. Jack swallowed. He had never meant to get in the middle of an alien tribe's business, but now he had no choice. He moved to the communication panel and tried to send a distress signal, but the line was dead. The hunters had cut the outpost's power lines. Outside, the voices grew louder. Jack peered through a crack in the wall and saw 5 shadowy figures moving between the dunes. They wore animal bones as armor, and their eyes glowed in the dark. One carried a spear made from the tooth of some desert beast. Jack's mind raced. He could not fight all of them. He turned to the woman. Is there another way out? She shook her head. Only the back hatch, but it is small. They will be waiting. The hunters banged on the door again. The outpost shook. The woman's hands trembled, but she stood up, her eyes determined. If you give me to them, they will leave you alone, she whispered, her voice sad but brave. Jack shook his head. No, I don't leave anyone behind. They moved quietly to the back of the outpost. Jack handed the woman a metal rod, the closest thing he had to a weapon for her. Suddenly, one of the hunters smashed a window. A bone. Spear flew inside, landing just a foot from Jack. He fired his blaster out the window, the shot lighting up the night for just a second. The hunters ducked, moving fast, like ghosts in the sand. The woman tried to block the window with metal panels. Jack fired again, keeping the hunters back. But then, the leader of the hunters spoke, his voice cold and clear, echoing through the night. The woman translated, he says, you have broken their law. Now, you are banished too. Jack's blood turned cold. He knew the hunters would never stop now. It was no longer about one alien woman, it was about honor and revenge. The night stretched on, filled with tension. Jack and the woman stayed back to back, watching every door and window. The woman whispered about her tribe's old ways. Way outcasts were hunted until they disappeared, and anyone who helped them was also hunted. Just before dawn, the hunters disappeared into the darkness, leaving only their threats behind. Jack and the woman did not relax. They knew the hunters would return, stronger and angrier. When the first pale light of morning came, Jack looked at the woman and saw something new in her eyes, trust, mixed with sadness. He realized their only hope was to work together. Jack started to repair the broken window. The woman helped him, her hands steady now. Outside, the sand hid the hunters' tracks. But Jack knew they were still out there, waiting for their chance. As the sun rose over the desert, Jack and the alien woman prepared for whatever would come next. They were both outcasts now, and the desert, which once seemed empty, was now full of danger. But Jack decided he would not give up. He would protect the woman, even if it meant fighting the whole desert alone. The sun rose harsh and bright, pouring its golden fire over the endless desert. Jack had barely slept. The alien woman, too, had dark circles under her strange, beautiful eyes. They both moved slowly, tired from the long night. Every sound outside made Jack tense. He didn't trust a quiet hit, felt like the calm before a storm. Inside the outpost, Jack tried to fix the broken window with metal sheets and tools. The alien woman helped, her hands quick and careful. She said nothing, but Jack could see. Her mind was racing. When he handed her a cup of water, she finally spoke. "My people call me Sorry," she whispered. "I do not have another name now." Jack nodded. "I'm Jack. Why did they banish you? Sorry." Sorry took a long breath. Her voice was soft, almost afraid. "In my tribe, a woman must prove she can give children. If she cannot, she is sent away or given to outsiders." She looked down, shame written across her face. "I was judged useless. I cannot give new life. So I was cast out. That is our law." Jack listened in shock and anger. It sounded cruel and old-like. Something from Earth's darkest history. He felt a heavy sadness for Sorry, but he also felt protective. "That's not your fault," Jack said. "You deserve better than this." Sorry's hands shook. "No one has ever said that to me before." Her voice was a whisper. "Not even my own mother." They worked in silence for a few minutes. Outside, the wind picked up, sending small pebbles rattling against the walls. Sorry looked at Jack, fear in her eyes. "They will come again, Jack. My people do not forgive. If you stay with me, you are also in exile now. They will hunt you." Too, Jack didn't flinch. "I'm not leaving you. Sorry. Not to them. Not to the desert." Suddenly, the outpost's warning alarm beeped. A message had arrived. Jack pressed a button and a broken voice filled the room, speaking in Sorry's native language. Her face turned pale. "It is their leader," she translated. "He says, return the exile before sunset, or we will destroy you both. The law is clear. Mercy is weakness." Jack's jaw tightened. He looked at Sorry, who seemed so small and alone, but also brave. "We have to be ready," Jack said. "Is there anything they fear? Anything you know about their ways?" Sorry nodded slowly. "The tribe fears weakness above all. If they think you are stronger than them, they sometimes leave. But if they think you are afraid, they will attack without mercy." Jack made a plan. He gave Sorry a radio and taught her how to use it. "If I say run, you head to the old water cave behind the outpost. Wait for me there." Sorry nodded, trust growing in her eyes. She found some tools and started making traps outside the windows, sharp wires and hidden spikes. Jack checked his blaster and set up more alarms. "We won't make it easy for them," he said, as the hot day turned to afternoon. Sari told Jack more about her past. She described her tribe's rituals, how girls were tested with old medicines and forbidden questions. She described her dreams, to see the stars, to find someone who cared, to have a name that meant something good. Jack listened, feeling a strange connection. He too had run from pain, from the memory of Earth and a family lost long ago. Maybe that's why he could not leave Sari behind. As sunset approached, the desert went silent again. Jack and Sari waited inside the outpost, weapons ready, hearts pounding. Sari whispered, "Thank you, Jack, for treating me like a person, not an outcast." Jack looked at her, tired but determined. "You're not alone anymore, Sari." Suddenly, the alarm beeped again. This time, the voice was cold and final. Sari translated, "Last warning. The law will be done. No mercy for exiles or for those who protect them." The sun disappeared behind the dunes, painting the sand red and gold. Jack stood with Sari, both ready to face whatever came next. He knew they could not hide forever. But in that moment, he felt stronger, not just because of weapons or walls, but because he had found something worth fighting for. Outside, the shadows grew longer. The hunters were coming. And inside, two outcasts stood side by side, ready to break the old law together. Asterisk, as the last light of the sun faded, the true danger arrived. From the shadows of the desert, the nomadic hunters came. Their eyes glowed like coals, and their bone armor made them look like ghosts from old nightmares. They moved silently, spreading out around the outpost, blocking every possible escape. Inside, Jack and Sari checked their traps one last time. Sari's hands were steady, her face set in fierce determination. Jack felt proud of her. She was not just a frightened outcast anymore. She was his partner in survival. The first attack came suddenly. Stones and metal bolts crashed against the outpost walls. A heavy bone spear smashed through a window, missing Jack by inches. The alarm screamed, and the small building shook. "Sari." And Jack moved quickly, as if they had been working together for years. Jack fired warning shots from his blaster out of the broken window, forcing the hunters to duck and retreat behind the dunes. At the same time, Sari threw small, handmade firebombs outside, creating bursts of bright light and heat that sent to hunters running. But the hunters were clever. They started circling the outpost, testing every weak spot. They used smoke and strange powders that made the air heavy, trying to force Jack and Sari outside. Sari remembered a secret tunnel near the back, just big enough for one person to crawl through. She whispered her plan to Jack. If things became too dangerous, they would escape together through the tunnel. Jack nodded, but he kept his eyes on the enemy, never letting his guard down. For hours, the siege continued. Sometimes, the hunters would bang on the walls, shouting threats and old tribal curses. Other times, they would go silent, hoping to make Jack and Sari nervous and careless. But inside, Jack and Sari were calm. They shared quiet words to keep each other's spirits strong. "I'm not leaving you," Jack said softly. "And I will not leave you," Sari replied. Suddenly, a fire started near the outpost. One of the hunters had thrown a burning torch onto the roof. Smoke filled the small rooms. Jack rushed to the roof and used sand to put out the flames, coughing and struggling to breathe. Sari threw buckets of water on the remaining embers, her eyes stinging but her resolve unbroken. When the fire was out, the hunters tried a new trick. One of them, a woman with silver face paint, stepped forward and spoke in a loud, clear voice. Sari translated, she says, "Give us the outcast and you can go free." Break the law with her, and you both die. Jack's answer was simple. He fired a single shot into the air, the bright blue light slicing the darkness. No deals, he shouted. She stays with me. The hunters howled with anger and rushed the outpost. They tried to break the doors and windows, but sorries. Traps stopped them. Sharp wires caught to hunters, and a pit trap hidden near the door swallowed another. The battle became desperate. Jack ran low on energy packs for his blaster. Sari used every tool she could, fine metal pipes, rocks, even her bare hands to fight them off. Through it all, Jack and Sari's teamwork grew stronger. Where Jack was strong, Sari was quick. Where Sari hesitated, Jack was fearless. Together, they were more than just two outcasts. They were a wall the hunters could not break. At last, the attacks stopped. The hunters retreated into the shadows, leaving the outpost in ruins but still standing. Jack and Sari stood side by side, covered in dust and sweat, breathing hard but alive. The silence after the battle felt even heavier than before. The outpost was damaged. Supplies were running low, but Jack looked at Sari and smiled. "You did it," he said. "We did it." Sari's eyes sparkled with relief. For the first time since she was cast out, she felt strong, not weak. "Never thought I could fight back," she whispered. Jack placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone now." Not anymore. They knew the hunters would not give up easily. The next attack could come at any time. But something had changed. Jack and Sari had survived together. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for each other. Outside, the moon rose over the desert, lighting the broken ground where the hunters had fled. Inside the outpost, Jack and Sari gathered what supplies they had left and prepared for whatever might come next. The siege had begun. But so had their partnership. And together, they were stronger than either had ever been alone. All night, Jack and Sari listened for movement outside the battered outpost. Every sound made their hearts jump. Every silence felt heavy and dangerous. When the first gray light of dawn touched the sky, they both knew the hunters were not gone. They were waiting, watching, patient as the desert itself. The outpost was broken. Windows shattered, doors cracked, food nearly gone, and Jack's blaster nearly out of power. Smoke still drifted from the roof, and the air inside was thick and dry. Sari tried to stay brave, but she could feel fear pressing on her chest. Jack watched her worry clear on his face. "We can't stay here," Jack said, voice rough but gentle. "They will return. And next time, we won't survive." Sari nodded. "There is a way, but it is dangerous." She drew a map in the dust on the floor. "A hidden path. Old riverbed. If we follow it, we can reach the rock caves before nightfall. There is water, shelter." Jack studied the map. The way was long, and the sun would be merciless. Worse, the nomads would hunt them, tracking their every step. But there was no choice. Staying meant certain death. Before leaving, they packed what little they had left: 2 bottles of water, a small pouch of dried food, a broken radio, and the last: to power cells for Jack's blaster. Sari wrapped her injured feet with fresh cloth. Jack gave her his own boots, even though they were too big for her. "Better than nothing," he said with a tired smile. They crawled through the secret tunnel Sari remembered from her childhood, emerging behind a tangle of rocks, far from the main doors. The early morning was cold, but the promise of heat lay heavy in the air. For a few minutes, they walked quickly and quietly, hoping not to be seen. But the desert has many eyes. Far behind, a distant cry went up. The hunters had discovered the empty outpost. Now, the chase was on. Sari led the way, moving quickly over the sand, following the hidden path only she knew. Jack kept glancing back, watching for the flicker of movement, the glint of a bone spear in the sun. His every muscle was tight with fear, but he would not let Sari see it. She, in turn, tried to be strong for him. After an hour, the sun rose. High and hot. Sweat poured down their faces. Sari's feet began to bleed again, but she did not stop. Behind them, Jack spotted the first hunter, small, dark, and fast, slipping between the rocks. The others would not be far. They pushed harder, stumbling over sharp stones and through dry grass. Jack's lips cracked, and his vision blurred from heat and thirst. Sari paused, handed him the last of the water, and whispered, "Drink. You are stronger than you think." For a moment, Jack felt like he could not go on. His leg was hurt from the siege, swollen and bruised, but Sari would not leave him. She took his arm, pulling him forward with gentle, stubborn strength. "You saved me," she said. "Now I save you." The hunters drew closer. They called out, their voices echoing across the empty land, promising pain and exile. One threw a spear that landed near Sari's feet, the tip buried deep in the sand. Jack fired his blaster, forcing the hunter to duck and run for cover. By midday, the two outcasts reached the old riverbed, now just a scar of dry stones and cracked mud. Sari searched for a hidden entrance. The hunters closed in, fanning out, in a half circle, ready to trap them at the last moment. Sari found what she was looking for, a narrow gap between two rocks. She squeezed through, pulling Jack behind her. They fell into darkness. The cool air of the cave, a shock after the heat outside. For a moment, all was silent except their harsh breathing. Jack pressed his back to the cave wall, blaster ready. Sari listened, tense and still. The hunters searched outside, their angry shouts fading as they moved away, fooled by the hidden entrance. Safe. At least for now, Jack slumped to the ground. Sari knelt beside him, checking his wounded leg. She tore a strip from her own shirt and wrapped it carefully. Jack looked at her, exhaustion and gratitude in his eyes. "You could have left me. Why didn't you?" Sari smiled, just a little. No one deserves to be alone in the desert. Not even an exile. They shared what little food they had, and for the first time since the nightmare began, Jack let himself hope. Together, in the darkness, the two outcasts found new strength, promised that no matter what happened next, they would never give up on each other. And somewhere above them, the sun burned high and the hunters kept searching. But inside the cave, a new story was beginning. Night fell over the desert, and the stars shone bright above the hidden cave. Inside, Jack and Sari tried to rest, but fear kept them awake. The sound of angry voices and stomping feet echoed faintly through the rocks the hunters were searching. Getting closer, Jack's leg throbbed with pain. Sari pressed a cool stone against his wound, her hands gentle. She could see the worry. In Jack's eyes, "They will not stop until they have us both," she whispered. Jack nodded. He knew the truth. There was no running forever. The tribe's law was unbreakable. He looked at Sari, saw her courage, and made a choice in his heart. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed above them. Torchlight flashed through the cave entrance. The hunters had found their hiding place. Jack and Sari pressed themselves against the wall, holding their breath. But the hunters poured in, spears and ropes ready, faces fierce with anger. Sari stood up, blocking Jack with her own body. The chief of the nomads, tall and strong, stepped forward. His eyes were cold as ice. He pointed at Sari. "You broke the law. You are exile. He is your helper. He must be punished." Sari's voice shook, but she stood tall. Jack did nothing wrong. "It was me. Take me, and let him go." The chief laughed, his voice echoing. "No, anyone who helps the outcast shares her fate." The hunters tied Jack and Sari with rough ropes and dragged them out of the cave. The desert night was cold, and the tribe had gathered around a great fire, burning bright in the sand. All eyes watched as the chief stepped before the flames. He raised his hand. Tonight, the law will be tested. The exile must face the fire. If she lives, she is forgiven. If she fails, both die. The tribe chanted, banging spears on the ground. Sari's face was pale, but her eyes did not leave Jack's. They forced Sari to walk around the fire, chanting old words in their alien tongue. Jack struggled against his ropes, rage and fear burning inside him. Suddenly, a wild beast, a giant sand cat, crashed into the camp, snarled, eyes shining gold, and leaped at the chief. The tribe scattered, screaming. The chief fell to the ground, the sand cat on top of him. Jack saw his chance. With the chaos, he twisted his wrists, loosening the rope. Sari saw what he was doing. Without fear, she picked up a burning stick and waved it at the beast, shouting. In her language, the sand cat paused, then turned and stared at her. Sari dropped her stick and knelt, bowing her head in a sign of respect. The sand cat stepped off the chief and slowly walked to Sari. She reached out her hand, palm open. For a moment, all was silent, the tribe, Jack, everyone watching. The sand cat sniffed Sari's hand, then rubbed its head against her palm. The chief, amazed and frightened, got to his feet. It is a sign, an old woman in the tribe whispered. She is not cursed, she is blessed. Jack broke free from his ropes and rushed to Sari's side. The tribe stared in shock as Jack helped her stand. The chief spoke, but now his voice was unsure. She faced the trial. The beast chose her. What does the law say now? The tribe murmured, their old beliefs shaken. For the first time, Jack saw doubt on their faces. Sari turned to the tribe. Her voice was clear and strong. I am not useless. I survived your exile. This human, he showed me kindness, not shame. He is braver than any hunter here. The old woman nodded. Let her speak. Sari stood tall in the firelight. You call your law strength, but kindness is strength too. You throw away your daughters, your sisters. You say mercy is weakness, but look. She gestured to the sand cat, now sitting calmly by her side. Even the wild beasts understand mercy. Jack watched as the tribe listened, really listened, to Sari's words. He felt pride and hope, something he had not felt in a long time. At last, the chief lowered his head. The law is old. Maybe it is wrong. Tonight, the exile has passed. The fire, she, and the human are free. The tribe, one by one, laid their weapons at Sari's feet, a sign of respect. Sari turned to Jack, tears shining in her eyes. We did it, she whispered. Jack smiled, his arm around her shoulders. No one is alone tonight. Above them, the stars glowed brighter, and the fire burned, not with anger, but with new hope. Asterisk. The fire in the desert burned low, and for the first time in many nights, peace settled over the camp. The tribe sat in a wide circle, their faces still marked by confusion, shame, and wonder. Sari, once a frightened outcast, now sat at the very center, her head held high, the wild sand cat curled at her side. Jack sat close beside her, his injured leg bandaged, but his eyes bright with hope. The old woman, the tribe's eldest, stood up, leaning on her cane. She spoke slowly, her voice trembling but strong enough to carry over the crowd. Tonight, our old law was broken, but it was broken by kindness, not by anger. The fire chose mercy over exile. Maybe it is time for our hearts to change as well. Whispers moved through the tribe. Some looked uncertain, still holding tight to the laws they had known since childhood. Others looked at Sari with respect. A few, for the first time. wondered if mercy could be stronger than the harsh rules they had always obeyed. Jack looked at Sari. He saw how nervous she was, her hands shaking, her breath unsteady. But he also saw her courage. She had faced her own people, the sandcat, and even the law itself. Now she had a new power inside her, the strength of someone who survived against all odds. The chief stepped forward, holding out the tribe's old marca band of colored cloth that showed family and belonging. He laid it gently in front of Sari. You have earned your place among us again. But we cannot force you to stay. The choice is yours. For a long moment, Sari stared at the cloth. Her tribe waited, silent. Even the sandcat watched her with curious yellow eyes. Sari took a deep breath. I have dreamed all my life of being accepted, of having a home. But now I know home is not just a place or a law. Home is where someone stands by you, even when everyone else walks away. I am grateful for your respect. But my journey is not finished. I wish to travel, to see new worlds, and to help others like me, those left behind, those called weak or useless. I wish to make a new tribe, not just for myself, but for anyone who needs it. A soft murmur of surprise swept through the camp. Sari gently placed the cloth back in the chief's hands, her gesture both respectful and brave. The chief nodded, his face thoughtful. If that is your wish, you go with our blessing. But you will always have a home with us, if you ever wish to return. Jack stood up beside her, smiling. You have more courage than anyone I've ever met. Sari, I'd be honored to travel with you. Sari smiled back, her eyes shining. Then let's find a new place together, a home for outcasts, for dreamers, for anyone who believes kindness is strength. The sandcat stood up too, stretching and yawning. Sari laughed softly and scratched its head. Even the wildest must find a family. Before dawn, Sari and Jack packed their small bags. The tribe gathered to say goodbye. The old woman pressed a silver coin into Sari's hand, a blessing for safe travels. The chief gave Jack a pouch of healing herbs for his leg as the first light of morning touched the sand. Sari, Jack, and the sandcat walked away from the camp. They did not look back, not because they were leaving something behind, but because they were stepping into something new. Their journey took them through new deserts, forests of purple trees, even small towns where people from many worlds lived together. Everywhere they went, Sari told her story, how the law of exile was broken by kindness, how even the lost and unwanted could find a family. Soon, others joined them. A boy with broken wings, an old woman from another planet cast out for her age, two sisters who had run from war. Each found safety and hope with Sari and Jack. Their small group grew into a new kind of tribe, not held together by fear or old rules, but by loyalty and love. And always, Sari remembered the fire and the trial in the desert, the moment when she stopped being an exile and became a leader. Years later, when travelers spoke of the most welcoming place in the galaxy, they told stories of a home where no one was turned away, where even the wildest hearts found peace. They spoke of Sari and Jack, the human and the outcast, who proved that the strongest bond is kindness. And on many nights, under strange stars, Sari would look at Jack, at their friends, and at the wild sandcat resting nearby, and she would know her exile was never the end, was the beginning of a story stronger than any old law.